Stephen Jay Gould died just a couple years ago. Harvard University. The absence of fossil evidence for intermediary, missing links, stages, has been a persistent and nagging problem for evolution. That's why he wants to go with a theory called punctuated equilibrium. Things change suddenly, we don't find any evidence for it because it changed too quickly. Call that science? Oh well. He also happens to be a communist Marxist professor at Harvard University in Boston, or did before he died a few years ago, and unfortunately he now knows he was wrong. It's Hollywood. It is not science. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. What does Homo sapiens sapien mean? Wise man. Yeah, that's what they did. They worshiped the creature instead of the creator. Remember, if you turn around and find some fossils in the dirt over here, what does it prove? Does it prove what kind of kids that fossil had? No. All you know is it died and it got buried here. That's all you know, folks. It doesn't come up with the label that says, I lived 65 million years ago, and boy, you're going to love my children. No, it didn't say that, did it? You don't know what kind of kids it had, what varieties it had, and how come they say the bones could do something that modern-day animals can't do? That's produce something after their own kind, different from their own kind. The bones in the dirt? No. But where does caveman or the Stone Age fit into the Bible? Remember after the flood, you'd have stripped the vegetation off the planet? You might have had to disassemble part of that ark to go build your houses, wait for the trees to grow back up. You might have lived in caves for a few years. What's the big deal? You know we have cavemen today on this planet? They live in caves. They're in Australia. Some of the Aborigines still live in caves. They got color TVs in their caves, but they live in caves, right? No big deal. See, the flood would have buried most of the world. And right after the flood, you couldn't go off to a hardware store and go build you a new house because there was no hardware store. Remember Gilligan's Island for us old guys? Wives didn't like it too much to lose all those comforts, right? No. Many cultures today use stone tools. It's no big deal. But I got a question for you. Are you aware that you may have been evolutionized? You may have picked up a vocabulary that's completely against God's word, but you don't even know it? Remember earlier I talked about the missing link, and I showed you a circle, said what is missing for the circle? Let's see if you've been evolutionized. Have you ever heard of prehistoric animals? Sure, they're in the textbooks, pictures, things of that nature. Where'd that word prehistoric come from? History means something written down by man, right? Or something written down by someone who was there about man, right? Let's go back to 1766 dictionary. Look for the word prehistoric. Oops, not there. What about the 1860s, Webster's dictionary? Oops, not there. Prehistoric implies something before man, something before his history. It's not history, folks. It's just another one of their Hollywood story. 400-million-old hammers? How's that possible, folks? Remember that one? Iron, brass and iron found in coal is supposed to be millions of years of age. How's that possible? Now, this is anecdotal evidence. This is not great evidence for an evolutionist. You know why? Because if I take a lump of coal and I stick it in something and burn it, and later I find something in there, my assumption is it came from the coal, right? You know what the evolution assumes? You just lie because you want the Bible to be true. So they're not going to accept that evidence. Doesn't matter how true it is, they won't accept it. Now, if they found a piece of coal and burned it in the stove and found something out, oh, there's the missing link, dinosaurs turning into birds. Oh, they'd use it in a heartbeat, wouldn't they? But you Christians, oh, you're just a bunch of liars. You want it to be true. You're blind, blind, blind. You just follow things because you want God to exist. No, folks, they're the ones blind. We got the evidence. See, their index fossils don't fit some of the things they find in these layers. What about this lump of coal? Found a gold chain about 10 inches in length. Coal, millions of years ago. What about this? 1912. They found it in coal. What about this? Zinc and silver, 600 million year old? No, I don't think so, folks. Clay doll found in layers that's supposed to be 12 million years old? No. J.D. Whitney, 1880, found these stone tools buried in these mines right here. Supposed to be anywhere from 9 to 55 million years of age. And another evolutionist attacked him and turned around and says, perhaps if Professor Whitney had fully appreciated the story of human evolution, he would not have hesitated to announce his conclusions. What, that I found human artifacts in old mines? What's the big deal? Because they assume the evolution is true, folks. 114 feet below the surface, you got a coin. There's your bunch of layers. The geological layers, look what they found there, folks. Skull in Stanford, California, jaw in Tuscany, Italy, snow prints, and that's the Miocene. Oligocene. Way back, remember Jurassic? Back in the Jurassic layer, they got leg and foot bones, footprints. The flood would have buried the world. And they can make up all the pictures they want and put it in front of us. It doesn't make it true. And I don't care how real they make that face look. Now, they don't go that far, okay? Creationists said the following: missing links, leading questions. These people do not know who begat whom, and they can't tell the dates with any credibility. They keep losing links into gaps and moving things around. Yet they expect us to believe that they are the masters of enlightenment when they tell us where we came from. It's important to remember that the bones aren't talking. Data doesn't jump into a scientist's hand and explain itself. The summary is the following: Nebraska man, remember that? From a single tooth? Piltdown man, total absolute fraud? Time magazine puts these things out. It's ridiculous. 5 different locations, different dates, and they're still quoting as if Java man is correct. Folks, past errors, you gotta stop using the past errors to substantiate present claims. It's not science. It's just Hollywood. Lies they put into museums, they've always known it to be indoctrination, not education. How they assemble the bones, the human footprints, they exaggerate to go to their favor. And the fossils just tell us it died in that location or got buried in that location. 400 million-year-old hammers? No, folks. Human remains in old mines? What about cavemen? Some men lived in caves, no big deal. Human evolution? Cavemen? That doesn't prove anything. Now, why do textbooks get filled with the idea of some sort of savage-looking human being, call them cavemen that supposedly descended from some ape? In other words, let's ask it a different way. Cavemen implies that something is really old, even from 100,000 years ago to 1 million years of age. But it also implies it's near to apes. Here's a logical question. Why does where something live prove what it's biologically related to? If where something lives proves what it's related to, then I got a following question for you. A man who lives in a cave is no more half animal than a dog is half human who happens to live in a house. Location doesn't prove a single thing. So forget the caveman stuff. And remember, if you only find a few bones here, you can make them look like here. And you get some more research grant, and you can write papers. It's just a Hollywood story. One-celled amoeba, the jellyfish, to the coelacanth, which turned out to be wrong, amphibian, the reptile, the lemur, to ape-like creature, to the professor who turns around and says, nope, you're lying, the Bible's wrong. This is how we got here. Now, why do most scientists believe in evolution? Same reason we covered earlier. They've taken a false education that has mixed truth with lies. What happens when you mix just a little bit of poison into chocolate chip cookies? You want to eat them? No. Let me put some rat poison in the next batch of chocolate chip cookies. Anybody want it? Why? Because it only takes a little bit of poison to kill you. And that's what's happened to these guys. They've mixed enough lies in with a whole lot of truth, and they end up with a conclusion that's going to kill their souls. What's the difference? Well, they've done the same thing to the denominational world. They allowed emotions to override logic. And like I said, how many of you teenagers enjoy it when your parents tell you what to do? And I think most of you all would agree that your parents are looking out for your best interest. And for some reason, you think you know what's best for you than they do. Raise your hand if you're older than 16 or older. Okay. All of you all are 16 or older. I want you to imagine in your mind a 7-year-old. What 7-year-old would you go to ask advice for how you should live your life? What 7-year-old would you go to ask, should I date that girl over there or should I date that boy over there? What 7-year-old would you go to? You know, I would say for most of you, you couldn't think of a single 7-year-old you'd ever go to for advice for that, would you? How much older than a 7-year-old are you? 9 years older. How much older are your parents than you? A lot more than that. How many of you go to your parents and ask them, should I really be dating this person over here? How many of y'all ever said that? Unfortunately, probably none of you. Well, then you listen to a bunch of 7-year-olds is what you're doing. Because all you do is listen to yourself, you're going to get in trouble just like these got in trouble. Because your emotions will mislead you. Okay? And that's exactly how denominations show up in this world, all these divisions. You can't have divisions without man customizing what God said. Animal rights, little cartoon right here, says, I can see why some people want to believe they're related to monkeys or animals. Animals have more rights today than humans do. Isn't that right? You go over and kill a bald eagle's eggs and we'll throw you in jail. You want to kill a baby while it's in the mother's womb, we'll pay for it with your tax dollars. Animals got more rights than we do. That's what they're doing, folks. This guy turned around and says, nightly news, and this new discovery completely changes everything I was ever taught about the origin of life. Uh-oh. A new discovery totally changes what I just reported. What they're really saying is we now know we were wrong. But they don't put it that way. Where is all their evidence? Remember, it's just a Hollywood story. It has nothing to do with science. And so my question for each one of you, is this stamped on your brain? Have you been evolutionized? I hope this morning's presentation has helped erode away this big E right here and allows you to stand up and show your friends and family how you can prove that God's word is true. Thank you for your time. I know we got some hungry stomachs in here. I'll let Dave take over.